So when you read this, you learn that Vincent van Gogh himself didn't see himself in a state of poverty, but he understood that he was dependent upon others for money. He knew that he was poor, but it didn't mean that he exactly saw himself being in poverty. Hi, this is Anita from 5 Minutes with Art. Vincent van Gogh continues to be a very popular artist, and he's an artist that many people want to know about and discover about his life. I have to admit, I'm also the same way. I love Vincent van Gogh. I love his paintings, and I love learning about him. The one question I wanted to kind of answer today was Vincent van Gogh in poverty? Vincent van Gogh only sold 2 paintings in his lifetime that we know about. Most people say it was one, but there's some evidence that there could have been another one, and he might have also sold some of his drawings. But really, he probably sold under maybe 5 different works of art. He did trade quite a few different works of art with other people, but as an artist, he would not have been considered successful in his lifetime. He really had no money of his own. He tells in his letters to his brother Theo about writing his father giving him some money. And then his father also sent him an overcoat, and the overcoat was just way too long, and he thought it was vulgar looking, so he sent it back to his dad. He also depended upon his family for support, and in particular, upon his brother Theo. Theo was an art dealer who would, take the work of arts, and then he would try to sell his work of arts for him. He wasn't really that successful in being able to sell his works of art, but he said to his brother, he said, "You talk about money that you owe me and that you wish to pay back to me. I know nothing of that. What I'd like to see you achieve would be that you never had that concern. I must work to earn money. Since the 2 of us don't have much of it, we mustn't overburden ourselves. But taking that into consideration, we can hold out for some time yet, even without selling this or that. If you feel the need to do a great deal of work for yourself good, say so, and I think we'll be able to manage anyway." You can see from this that, Theo himself did not have a lot of money, except that Theo was very willing to support Vincent in his artwork and believed in him. What's interesting, another letter that Vincent van Gogh wrote is he fully understood his financial situation. He knew that he basically didn't have any money, that he was depending upon other people. And he wrote to his brother, and this was in 1883, and said, "Now I must tell you about a surprise I've had. I received a letter from Pa, very cordial and cheerful, it seemed to me, with 25 guilders in it. Pa wrote that he received some money he hadn't expected and that he wanted to share in it. Wasn't that awfully kind? It makes me blush, though. But there's no thought that instinctively springs to mind. Can it be, perhaps, that Pa has heard something from someone or another that I'm living in poverty or some such thing? I wouldn't care for it if something like that was a motive, for in my opinion, this view of my circumstances wouldn't be accurate and could cause Pa concern that isn't entirely appropriate." So when you read this, you learn that Vincent van Gogh himself didn't see himself in a state of poverty, but he understood that he was dependent upon others for money. He knew that he was poor, but it didn't mean that he exactly saw himself being in poverty. And that's where I think kind of the difference lies in this, is that Vincent van Gogh knew that he had no money of his own. He obviously knew that he wasn't selling many paintings, and he knew that his work was not that successful during his own lifetime. But he also felt like he had just enough for his needs, and so therefore he was not really in poverty, as many people say that he was still able to paint and do those things that he needed to do with his art. And that was really because his brother Theo and some other members of his family, including his father and others, continued to support him to allow him to continue to do his artwork. So the answer to that question is no, he was not in dire poverty, but was he poor? Yes. And was he dependent upon others? Yes. This is Anita from 5 Minutes with Art. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast with 5 minutes once a week to tell you a little bit about some interesting tidbit or another about some of our favorite artists. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you will subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our blog. We have a blog on Was Vincent van Gogh in Poverty, where you can learn more about this. We'll put a link below in the description. We'd like to thank those who helped to make this podcast possible, and particularly Rico, who helps to put it all together. Thank you so much for your help, and thank you for listening.